Hello and welcome back to my channel. Before we get into the video, don't forget to click on the subscribe button, like and share your thoughts on what you think about this video. Let's get into it. In this video, a lady is heard saying that Aipac, a Jewish lobby in America, can fund $100 million to try and unseat black members of Congress and anyone who does not toe the line about what they want for the Israeli government and taxpayers' money. Now, this Aipac, which is the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, is one of the most powerful, best-funded influence operations in Washington, which is planning to go all out to knock the famed squad, the small group of highly visible and popular progressive legislators who are black, most of them women, out of office. Now, this is indeed an interesting topic which is being discussed by a lot of people on social media. So take a look at her video. I will be right back.
Just imagine Aipac, the Jewish lobby in America. They can find $100 million to try and unseat black members of Congress and anyone who does not toe the line about what they want for the Israeli government and taxpayers' money. I want to know, when did America become the breast that they suck the milk out of our taxpayers' money? When exactly did these PACs put so much fear into Americans that if you disagree with apartheid in Israel, with settlers stealing people's houses, that they have the power to unseat Congress people? I wonder if they realize that all that money that Aipac, all the money that they're getting, that they could send that money to Israel and leave the American taxpayer money alone. I wonder why those people in Congress don't tell them all of these PACs, all of these organizations, you know what? You guys have a lot of money. We have no problem with you sending it directly to the Israeli government. This bullshit with these PACs have to stop. No one should have this kind of influence on the American government. It almost feels like America is not America. When did we become second-class citizens to another country? And we need to stop sending our money everywhere. We just need to stop sending our money until everybody in America has health care, has a decent living. We need to stop sending them our money. And we need to elect people who will vote no, not to send our money to these places.
Israel's going to spend $100 million to get the people in our government who have criticized their country out of power, out of office, out of their seats. They're going to do it through the same way they did it in the past, through Aipac, the Zionist lobby to the United States government. These are the only people in our government who have called for a ceasefire. Israel's going to swoop in and give millions of dollars to people running against those people so they win and they don't get reelected. I would like to point out that they do this all the time. They've done it in all the past election cycles. Here's a quick example for you. In 2018, a woman in our government criticized Israel. So Aipac swooped in and gave $2 million to somebody running against her, and they won, and she was no longer in our government. Israel takes people out of power in our government to influence us. Why is this legal? I don't know. I mean, you're giving money to the people who make the laws, and you're asking them to make a law that says they can't get that money anymore. A lot of these people in our government are still in power because of their allegiance to that money. Not just the Zionist money, but other groups like Big Oil or Big Tech or Big Pharma. So that's the word. Vote for these people next election. Don't listen to the millions of dollars spent on ad campaigns.
This is the most stark difference in opinion between the American people and their government I have ever seen. 66% of Americans are in agreement of a ceasefire in comparison to 4% of all House members. What's even more astonishing is this is the bipartisan majority. Over 80% of Democrats and 56% of Republicans want a ceasefire. So why isn't it happening? In 2022, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee endorsed the majority of House Democrats and Republicans. Where does AIPAC get all of its money from? They used to be called the American Zionist Committee for Public Affairs. As you call your politicians, you have to realize they have no power in this situation. I don't think y'all understand. AIPAC is working their ass off right now. Most likely they are calling every politician right now, telling them to do this, to do that. Bet a lot of y'all heard of this bill. I will put big money that Republicans didn't even come up with the idea for this bill, and AIPAC called them up and was like, hey guys, you have to do this, this, this. So take a moment to realize how much power AIPAC has here. The United States is not allies with Israel. The United States is Israel. The thing is, don't let this make you feel hopeless. This is actually really good information to know, because now you know your politicians and president can't do shit. TikTok, y'all need to focus on calling these people. The attention needs to be diverted to these guys.
This is how Israel stops progressive candidates from advancing. Every single election cycle, the Israeli lobby group, otherwise known as AIPAC, funnels thousands of dollars into federal campaigns for politicians. But in the last election cycle, they ended up spending way more money than they've ever spent on both Republican and Democrat candidates. In total, for the election cycle in 2022 alone, they spent more than $13 million. Why would they spend so much money last year when they could have just spent this much money in other years too? It's because progressive candidates scare them. AIPAC created an organization called the United Democracy Project, and essentially they poured all of their money into the United Democracy Project to wash their hands and make the people not realize that it's actually Israeli lobby money, and then they funneled that against any progressive candidate that showed any kind of sympathy towards Palestinian people or their fight for liberation. In other words, Israeli lobby has a full grip on federal politics in America, and unfortunately most people don't even know this.
You are Jewish. Why is a pro-Israel lobby group using a super PAC and dark money to try and defeat you in a Democratic primary?
I'm not just Jewish, Mehdi. I'm one of two former synagogue presidents in the Congress, along with Senator Jackie Rosen. I've got I've got mezuzot on all my doors. I'm really Jewish, but AIPAC can't stand the idea that I am the clearest, strongest Jewish voice in Congress, standing for a simple proposition that there's no way to have a secure democratic homeland for the Jewish people unless we achieve the political and human rights of the Palestinian people. That's it. It's last I checked, that was the policy of every Democratic and Republican administration pre-Trump of this country. But AIPAC's completely gone off the rails, and they are trying to end my career because I won't fall in line with their view of what it means to be pro-Israel.
AIPAC, AIPAC, is one of the most powerful lobbying groups in Washington, D.C. What does AIPAC stand for? It is an acronym. It stands for the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. And there have been, over the last 5 weeks, there have been a few members of Congress who have spoken out pretty vocally in support of the Palestinian people, including the only Palestinian American in the United States House of Representatives, Rashida Tlaib. They individually and as a group have been painted by AIPAC and the Anti-Defamation League as being anti-Semitic, largely for speaking out in support of Palestinian civilians inside the Gaza Strip. Well, now, yesterday AIPAC announced that they were going to spend $100 million to primary 4 members of Congress, all of them women of color. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, a Muslim member of Congress, Rashida Tlaib, the only Palestinian American in Congress, and Ayanna Pressley. Today, they expanded that group to 7. Now they're including Cori Bush, Summer Lee, and Jamal Bowman. All 3 of them black. Seven members of Congress. Aipac is going to spend $100 million to get rid of them for speaking out in support of the Palestinian civilians inside the Gaza Strip and speaking out in favor of a ceasefire. 6 of the 7 are women. All of them are people of color. One of them's Muslim. One of them is the only Palestinian American in Congress today. So Aipac, just like the ADL, just like the Israeli government, can't get out of their own way. They're going to overreact. They're going to spend $100 million to get rid of 7 members of Congress, 6 of whom are women. All 7 of them are people of color. 1 Muslim, 1 Palestinian American, because they had the audacity. The dogs are home by the thousands. These people said, maybe we shouldn't do that. That's wrong. And maybe our government and our president shouldn't support the wholesale slaughter of women and children. And now Aipac is going to spend $100 million to get rid of 7 minority members of Congress. What if there was an organization that spent $100 million to get rid of 7 Jewish members of Congress? What would we all say about that organization?
In many states in our country, they have made it illegal to boycott the state of Israel. It is unbelievable that an American citizen cannot boycott a foreign country. That should tell you everything you need to know about the legal system in the country. The fact that our presidents bail out the banking system in a collapse and the homeowners lose their home should tell you everything you need to know about the loyalty of our politicians. You can vote for people like Obama or Hillary or anyone else in the Democratic Party and be promised things like student loan forgiveness, free healthcare, and get mandatory insurance, no student loan forgiveness, and having the rest of the world annihilated in your name. And in order for us to have a voice and elect politicians who are not controlled by these interests, we have to protect the rights of the individual Americans.
Now, in case you're wondering why they're trying to do this, well, these are members of Congress who are against what Israel is doing to the Palestinian people and are calling for a ceasefire. And Aipac does not like that because Aipac likes funding Republicans and conservative Democrats. And already members of the squad, Bush, Bowman, Lee, and Omar, have drawn primary opponents. Aipac is still looking for challengers: Tlaib, Presley, and Ocasio-Cortez. And the leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, hasn't said anything because he is a big recipient of Aipac money. In 2020, he condemned outside lobbying groups who were trying to recruit progressive Democrats to primary conservative Democrats. But when it comes to outside lobbying groups getting conservative Democrats so primary progressives, he's okay with that. And just because a lot of these squad members are very popular in the district doesn't mean they are going to win. They get a lot of their funding from small donors, which is why they are not beholden to big donors like Aipac. But small donors of nations are down. So it's going to be harder for them to go up against the kind of money that Aipac has. And it also shows you how arch-racist Aipac is. That the people trying to primary are all people of color. Now, Aipac needs to be stopped and other lobbying firms from buying off our politicians or primary them if they can't buy them off. Now, out of the 435 members of the House of Representatives, 269 received pro-Israel lobby contributions at an average of more than $23,000 per representative. And out of 100 U.S. senators, 58 accepted contributions at an average of more than $77,000 $100,000 per senator. Aipac pushes for laws in Congress. Each year, Aipac and other pro-Israel lobby groups put their weight behind a number of legislations, especially when they are anti-Iran, anti-Palestine, and of course pro-Israel. Now, these legislations include moving the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, cutting aid to Palestinians, and countering the BDS movement. The group also lobbied heavily against the Obama-era Iran deal, which President Donald Trump withdrew from in 2018. Now, they all just got exposed. Israel is standing on its last legs because when this information starts going out next election cycle, we are going to let the House of Representatives know that people don't stand for a G-side and apartheid. And if you're going to take this foreign money, we don't want it to go and support unaliving kids. Like, this is not what America value stands for, and we're going to get you guys kicked out if you don't follow suit. Now, this is one of the biggest, bitterest, and most expensive political battles of the 2024 election cycle, which has emerged. The most outspoken and unapologetically leftist contingent of the Democratic Party in national office. The squad has been vocal in its criticism of Israel's retaliatory assault on Gaza following the October 7 attack of Israelis by Hamas. Now, members of the group have prominently pushed a ceasefire resolution in Congress. It now has 18 signatories, if you don't follow suit. Now, this is one of the biggest, bitterest, and most expensive political battles of the 2024 election cycle, which has emerged. The most outspoken and unapologetically leftist contingent of the Democratic Party in national office. The squad has been vocal in its criticism of Israel's retaliatory assault on Gaza following the October 7 attack of Israelis by Hamas. Now, members of the group have prominently pushed a ceasefire resolution in Congress. It now has 18 signatories. Their positions on the issue are hardly radical. A recent Data for Progress poll found that 66% of Americans support a ceasefire, as do 80% of Democrats. But Aipac has trained its attention on these members to make an example of them, and it has spent heavily against a few of them before. Now, Aipac wants to make the statement this cycle that no one is safe from their wrath, that if you speak out, you can be targeted no matter how popular or how many cycles of incumbent you are. Now, the president of the Progress fundraising group left Rising in a phone call. It's extremely audacious. Now, strongly activists allied the squad members as staunch advocates for progressive causes that include Medicare for all, the Green New Deal, police reform, and student debt relief. Critically, all of them reject big money backing, surviving on just grassroots support and small dollar fundraising. They have quickly become some of the most well-known members of Congress. Most are quite adept at using social media and are equivalently reviled by Republicans and some corporate Democrats for their advocacy. Now, Aipac has a turbulent history with them and progressives in general. In the 2022 midterms, the Israel lobby became the largest single issue outside spender in the Democratic primaries, pouring in nearly $30 million via the Super PAC, the United Democracy Project, and millions more via the Democratic Majority for Israel PAC. It was an astronomical amount of money, mostly directed at knocking progressives out of their primaries, largely in open and redrawn seats. Despite there being fewer vacancies in 2024, that money figure is expected to at least triple. Now, there's a familiar trajectory here. Not long ago, the National Rifle Association was known as a bipartisan organization that Democrats desperately courted for support. But as the lobby became increasingly right-wing and with its leadership becoming increasingly fringe, it embraced highly unpopular positions on the total deregulation of pew-pew violence and pushed far-flung Republican agenda items. Quickly, the group drove itself into marginalization. It took only a handful of cycles for Democrats to totally disaffiliate from the organization. Its reputation too politically toxic for even the most cash-strapped Democrat. Now, it could be that in 2 full cycles, Aipac will be totally ostracized, their support plummeting as well, Ferrer said. We have come to the end of the video. Please share your thoughts on what you think about this video. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.